Thank you, Madam Speaker. An important part of public service is presenting petitions on behalf of one's constituents, whether or not one agrees with them. I am tabling a petition without comment regarding my own personal perspective that asks the government to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Petitioners of their own accord have observed that after 9 years it is clear that the Prime Minister is not worth the cost, the crime, or the corruption. Further, that this failed Prime Minister and his failed NDP Liberal government has increased the cost of everything and failed to take responsibility for their failures. Further, petitioners believe that crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder are filling our streets due to the failed policies of this Prime Minister and his NDP Liberal government. Therefore, petitioners are calling on the government to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Further, they would like to see an immediate non-confidence vote in order to replace this NDP Liberal government, to bring about a carbon tax election in which Canadians will be able to vote to end the carbon tax everywhere and for good. I thank the constituents for their public service and helping me bring this petition to the House today. The next petition that I'm tabling is in support of Bill C-257, a private member's bill that I've put forward in this House aimed at combating the pernicious phenomenon of political discrimination. Petitioners note that Canadians have a right to be protected against discrimination, and that Canadians can and do face political discrimination on the basis of their political views, and there is no reference to political belief or activity currently in the Canadian Human Rights Act as a prohibited grounds of discrimination. Bill C-257 would add political belief and activity as prohibited grounds of discrimination. Therefore, petitioners call on the House to support Bill C-257 and also to defend the rights of Canadians to peacefully express their political opinions free from political discrimination. The next group of petitioners would like to bring to the attention of the House that killing children is always wrong, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the level of development or dependency involved, that killing children is always wrong. Petitioners draw attention to a recommendation by Louis Roy of the Quebec College of Physicians recommending expansion of euthanasia to, quote, babies from birth to 1 year of age who come into the world with severe deformities and very serious syndromes. End of quote. Petitioners are opposed to this proposal, and frankly, they're horrified that someone would propose it in Canada's Parliament. Petitioners call on the Government of Canada to block any attempts to allow the killing of children in Canada. The next petition draws attention to the human rights challenges in Eritrea, as well as foreign interference that is being caused by the Eritrean regime. At an introductory level, Eritrea has been called the North Korea of Africa. It has been ruled by an authoritarian, brutal dictator under a totalitarian system for the last 30 years. It has no constitution, no elections, no parliament, no freedom of the press, no freedom of movement or associations. Eritreans continue to flee indefinite military conscription, religious persecution, political repression. Hundreds of thousands of Eritreans have fled to escape these severe human rights abuses, and these abuses have been documented by the UN Commission of Inquiry on Eritrea, and many who flee nonetheless still face intimidation and extortion from representatives of the regime. When they're abroad, they are worried about their families being harassed and forced to pay huge sums of money as a result of members of their family having sought refuge abroad. Petitioners highlight various instances of foreign interference that have happened in Canada and elsewhere. They also highlight the collaboration between the Eritrean dictator and Vladimir Putin. Therefore, petitioners call on the government to engage actively with Eritrean political and human rights activists and pro-democracy groups to challenge the Eritrean dictator's human rights abuses at home, his strategic collaboration with other authoritarian powers like the Russian government, and to do more to combat foreign interference here in Canada to ensure that we don't have refugee or other immigration applicants who are affiliated with the regime. Petitioners call for strengthened sanctions against human rights abusers in Ethiopia, and also they want to see the release of a number of imprisoned parliamentarians, as well as Swedish Eritrean journalist Dawit Isaak, who I believe is the longest imprisoned journalist in the world. Next, I am tabling a petition drawing attention to the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners. Petitioners note that Falun Gong is a traditional Chinese spiritual discipline. It consists of meditation exercises and moral teaching based on the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. That since the summer of 1999, the Chinese Communist Party has undertaken an intensive persecution campaign seeking to eradicate Falun Gong. That persecution has included forced labor, brainwashing centers in prisons, torture, and thousands of people have died as a result. It further highlights the history of forced organ harvesting and trafficking that we have combated in this House through a piece of legislation that finally passed in this Parliament. Petitioners call for further steps from the government, including passing a resolution to establish measures to stop the CCP's crime of systemically murdering Falun Gong practitioners, and to publicly call and regularly call for an end to the persecution of Falun Gong. Next, Madam Speaker, I have a petition from Canadians who are very concerned about the government's approach to natural health products. There are changes that are a at best a solution in search of a problem, and at worst a pernicious attack on these products and on those who use them in order to stay healthy. Petitioners note changes that were made in the last Liberal omnibus budget that have had the effect of making it much more difficult to be in the business of producing natural health products, that have driven up the cost and have impacted the accessibility of these products to especially middle and low-income Canadians. Petitioners call on the Government of Canada to reverse the changes made in the last Liberal budget regarding natural health products, and to support the Conservative private member's bill that would do precisely that. Next, I'd like to table a petition regarding the human rights situation in Hong Kong as it relates to immigration, as it relates to potential immigration to Canada. Petitioners note that the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act renders foreign nationals inadmissible to Canada if they have committed or been convicted of an offence abroad. Petitioners note, though, that many people in Hong Kong have been arbitrarily charged and convicted simply because of their involvement with the pro-democracy movement. That includes national security law-related offences, but it also includes cases where people have been arbitrarily charged and convicted because of their involvement in the pro-democracy movement under other statutes, not the national security law. So petitioners want the government to create a mechanism by which Hong Kong people with pro-democracy related convictions may provide an explanation for such convictions, and on that basis the government can grant exemptions to Hong Kong people who would otherwise be deemed admissible based on this criminality determination. Petitioners also want to see our government work with other like-minded governments on a fair and reasonable mechanism to achieve this end. Thank you, Madam Speaker.